Hello and welcome back to the Buckeye State Blitz. I've been a lot to talk about the last couple weeks. We got the Bengals getting blown out by the Steelers, as we pretty well expected. Ohio State had their game against Maryland canceled because Maryland had a bunch of COVID cases. So, not a lot going on. But then you have the NBA draft. Now we got something to talk about. First three picks, pretty much exactly as you expected. I don't understand why there was so much buzz around James Wiseman going to Minnesota. That fit never made sense. They have a top tier center already. They could use some help on the wing. Anthony Edwards made all the sense in the world. Now, they're probably taking the approach best player available, things like that. Okay. Edwards was definitely the guy. And same with Wiseman going to Golden State. They've long needed an athletic center. Now, of course, this is before the news that Klay Thompson would be out for the year again, which I hate to see that because Klay Thompson's a good guy. But then, of course, Golden State goes and trades for Kelly Oubre Jr. Now you got a lineup of Steph, Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, James Wiseman. Now we're not saying Wiseman needs to become a 20-point scorer a night, but offense has probably been a question. Seems he answered it in his 3 games at Memphis. Who knows? But I think it's a perfect fit. I think he'll do just fine in Golden State. LaMelo Ball, I don't know. I haven't watched anything on this guy. The potential is there. I think he's got a higher ceiling than his brother. Whether or not that plays out, who knows? One thing I do know is Michael Jordan has not been the best when it comes to drafting as owner of the Hornets. It may work. Him and Rozier could be a very good backcourt. I also feel like he could have a lower floor than Lonzo. Because he's not a defender. Lonzo at least defends. But remains to be seen. Then you get to 4 and 5. The Bulls and the Cavaliers. I don't know anything about Patrick Williams, honestly. But I've got a couple friends who are Bulls fans whose opinions I highly regard. I asked them if they liked the pick. They said no. But you look into more, you find that Williams was a bench guy for Florida State. And they asked Leonard Hamilton about that. I say, well, he may not have started games, but he finished them. Okay. You're still putting someone else ahead of him. And in those conversations, one thing I realized is that it's sad how identically terrible the Bulls and the Cavs both have been when they don't have one of the 2 best players of all time playing for their team. Bulls without Jordan, bad. Cavs without LeBron, bad. They each hit on a number 1 pick. The Bulls get Rose, Cavs get Kyrie. Still weren't making a ton of noise. Now, the Bulls with Rose were definitely better than the Cavs with just Kyrie. But still, They haven't done anything. Neither one. And you get to the Cavs. Now, if you had asked me ahead of time who I want them to take, I would have said I wanted either Obi Toppin out of Dayton or Denny Avdia out of Israel. I think they both would have fit in fantastically offensively. Now, you can make the argument that Toppin is probably a copy of what they have with Thompson. Maybe Love too. Depends. I think Avdia would have been a great fit because the Cavs have needed wing help when they don't have LeBron. He would have fit in great there. But a question about each of them was that they probably don't defend well. And if you've watched the Cavs over the last couple of years, you know that the Cavs' defense is positively awful. Awful. And they take Isaac Okoro out of Auburn. Again, another guy I don't know a lot about. But you look into him a little bit, and people say defense is his calling card. As far as fit goes, that's a great fit. Cavs need defense. You put Okoro, he can guard 1 to 4. Whoever their best player is, great. That's all makes it for a lot better team. But he only averaged about 12 points a game at Auburn. And when you're talking about a 5th overall pick, you're looking for a little more than that. You want a guy who can become an all-star type player. You think about when the Cavs drafted Tristan Thompson, 4th overall. He is only averaging about 10 to 12 points a game. The fit has been fantastic. He's given that high energy, constant motor type of guy that you need. You said it's worth a 4th overall pick? Questionable. Thompson's been a very good player for the Cavs. When you're talking about that high of a pick, you want someone you can build around. They never really necessarily built around Thompson. It was the guy they took 3 spots earlier in Kyrie Irving. So with this kind of a pick, I'm not saying he needs to be a 20-point-a-night scorer. The Cavs have guys who can probably do that. Colin Sexton and Kevin Porter Jr. can be a very, very good backcourt. But if he doesn't become, I'd say at least 15 points a night, maybe push it 16, 17, I question whether that it's worth that pick. Especially if Avdia and Toppin develop well and become that kind of guy for the Knicks and Wizards, who took those guys. Now, for all we know, they could both bust out. In and out of the NBA in a few years, get 1-year deals, bounce around. Who knows? Obviously, we got to give guys like this time to develop, especially when it comes to their offensive game. There are question marks, especially when you look at the history of the Cavs and Bulls. So, I'm skeptical. I'm willing to give them time. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Toppin and Avdia can bust out. Okoro and Williams can be all-star type players. That'd be pretty nice. There's skepticism. But as always, you got to remain hopeful. So, we'll see. That'll do it for me for this episode. We'll see you next time.